Going back to telemetry, I'm presuming.
And we've lost about 3/4 of our mass in just over 2 minutes. So now we're burning the main stage. You can see it there, the grey structure, the big tank. The huge tank of cryogenic propellant. It's going to burn for about 9 minutes. And you can see at the front there the fairing on the right-hand side. You can see the image there. The fairing is the nose of the vehicle,
That was
protecting our satellites
as we are
from
already
the rigours of the launch, from the sound and the acoustic waves at launch. It's obviously very, very loud. And of course friction. If you look at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can see we're 114 kilometres above the Earth. That means we're on the outer edge of the atmosphere. There's no friction anymore. We're on the edge of space, and we don't need the fairing.
You can see the cylinder
so
there.
It falls back down to Earth, and we can see Thor-7, our first satellite there. He said everything's going according to plan. We can see Thor-7 at the front for the very first time, and the two grey rectangles are the solar panels. Behind it, we can't see it now because it's hidden under the cylinder, is Sicral-2.
So there's
We're powering across the Atlantic using the Vulcan engine. It's very powerful. It burns 320 kilograms of propellant a second. That's about 500 times more than a jet engine.
Well, this is a rocket engine, and it gets into space in like... well, it gets
the computer-generated images that we're looking at are showing us what the experts have planned and calculated is happening to the launcher. He says, tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux, all the parameters on board are normal. And, we're seeing there the tracking station at Galileo. That's
pretty much the one in Crew.
That's the tracking station at the Ariane Space Center.
Guyana.
And the computer-generated images are what's actually happening in space. Basically, the teams plan a very precise schedule of events based on extremely accurate predictions. And they put all of that information into the computer. And these images are a simulation of those predictions. We took off for 5 minutes and 23 seconds ago.
I get the shivers whenever I watch a rocket launch.
As I was mentioning, these computer-generated images are really showing us pretty well what's happening, exactly what we're expecting to be happening. And there we go, another replay there of our superb launch.
Yes, we'll be able to find all those screenshots I took on my Facebook page. I'll probably put, if I remember, I'll put a link in the description.
The folk in mission control. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see our altitude there on the
altitude is barely going up.
Left-hand side.
In fact,
we are 163 kilometers above the Earth.
great. Those are clearly blue.
In the middle you can see the distance. That's the distance from the pad if you were to draw a line across the ground. And on the bottom right hand side is our speed. At the moment we are travelling
that's like half orbital
at
velocity.
4.29 kilometers per second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me, boys and girls, let me remind you that's per second, not per hour. So we are travelling at phenomenal speeds.
Very fast.
We're heading out across the Atlantic.
In fact, our altitude should be dropping.
We've got 2 minutes left of propulsion on the main stage. Our flight path takes us along the equator towards Africa. And we'll start separating the satellites just over the east coast of Africa.
I hope they cover that because I want to see that.
Picking up speed all the time here. You can see the trajectory on the top right-hand side of the screen. The
we have dropped the
curve
kilometer.
is the predicted trajectory of the vehicle, and the dot is the actual position of the launcher. And we're tracking our launcher using ground stations as she flies over. It's called telemetry. They've got great big dishes, a bit like ears. They're listening out for the launcher. And Ariane sends data to those ground stations which tells us how the flight is progressing in real time, and later we can see how the vehicle performed
In
in
case
a
there's an
process
error.
which is called the Level 0 flight evaluation. And you can see there we're picking up the signal there at the next tracking station in Natal on the right, on the northeastern coast there.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la
That's
station
Natal.
natale au Brésil.
In Brazil, he's just given us the confirmation there that we've picked up the signal. So we've travelled from Galho, you can see as the tracking station there on the left, on the west, in the Guyana Space Centre, and Natal in the northeastern coast of Brazil. Quite a lot of advantages for launching from the equator. It's the fastest route to geostationary orbit. And also, the natural rotation of the Earth gives us additional speed on the equator. So if you think about it, the launcher is actually already moving in the right direction, even when it's on the pad. Obviously, that's when we're launching to the east, of course.
Fin de production de l'étage principal cryotechnique.
Main stage has cut off its engine, it's burnt all its propellant,
Séparation EPC.
and it's falling back down. There are images from a previous launch. We had cameras on board a previous launch. Look at that, superb. And you can see the curvature of the Earth and the main stage as it falls back down there. So we are now entering the next phase of the flight. The upper stage has taken the wheel, and its job is to deliver our satellites to their orbit. We're shedding weight, of course. We started with 774 tons, and we've got about 3% of that left. The lighter we are, the faster we go. Might seem obvious to us now, but it wasn't always, actually. It was, of course, Sir Isaac Newton who identified that back in the 1680s. That's when he presented his 3 laws of motion. And then about 20 years earlier, he'd developed his theories about gravity. And of course, that
La
was when
propulsion est nominale.
an apple fell on his head, and he was only 23 years old at the time, so it's quite remarkable. Of course, most of the laws at the heart of that are also at the heart of rocket science. Our first satellite to be separated will be Thor-7. There it is at the front.
Est nominale.
And our friends at Space Systems Loral manufactured it for Telenor using their LS-1300 platform. This is the 47th satellite built by Loral that Arianespace has launched, and there are 15 more in the order book.
La propulsion est nominale.
SSL is the world's leading provider of commercial satellites with a broad range of capabilities to support satellite operators and innovative space-related missions. Telenor Satellite Broadcasting, a major provider of broadcast and data communication services, owns and operates the Thor satellite fleet, positioned at 1 degree west, which provides high-powered and high-quality satellite capacity throughout Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Together, SSL and Telenor have partnered to expand the benefits of the digital world with the multi-gigabit, high-throughput Thor-7 satellite. The spacecraft is a multi-mission satellite and features Telenor's first high-performance Ka-band payload for the maritime market. It is the highest-performing satellite payload designed specifically for service to ships at sea. The satellite also includes a Ku-band payload, which will provide growth capacity for TV broadcast services.
Thor-7 is